Welcome to the Winter 2007 Subaltern Voices Speaking and Theorizing through Disciplinary Margins speaker series. My name is Melinda Smith, and I am a professor in the Department of Political Science, teaching in the area of comparative politics and international relations. I would like to welcome you to this the first of this term's talks, which features Dr. Kothari from the Institute for Development Policy and Management at the University of Manchester in the UK. But before I introduce Dr. Kothari, whom we are very pleased to have here in balmy Edmonton, when we invited her, we sent her all the information on the weather in January in Edmonton, and so she's quite surprised by how warm it is. But before I introduce, I wanted just to do a few things. First, I want to thank our sponsors for these talks. As you know, these talks have been going on since September, and such a series would not be possible without the assistance of a number of departments and units at the university. So in addition to the Department of Political Science, we are very pleased to have the support of our two CRCs in the department, Dr. Janine Brody, who is the Canada Research Chair in Political Economy and Social Governance, and Dr. Anna Yateman, who is the Canada Research Chair in Social Theory and Social Policy, as well as support from Augustana faculty, the Faculty of Education, the Middle East and African Studies Program, University of Alberta International Center, the Center for Constitutional Studies, and also Athabasca University, which has made this, which has allowed us to provide audio, video, and iPod feeds on our website. So all the series from last term is available on the Department of Political Science website. And you can download it to your iPods. You can watch the video or listen to the audio. So thanks to our sponsors. Secondly, I just want to make a comment on the series. For those of you for whom this is the first one you've attended, it will go on for the rest of the term. The aims are several-fold. Basically, what we've been trying to do, besides being disruptive to the orthodoxies within the discipline of political science, we've also tried to disrupt as well some of the kinds of well, we've been disruptive to, I would say broadly, the social sciences and humanities generally. The series has tried to provide, has been conceived as a space, an opportunity to discuss the important subjects about which the discipline has been very silent, to explore subjects that are inadequately addressed through the various theoretical orthodoxies, to foreground voices and perspectives or on the margins, not just in political science, as I said, but through the social sciences and humanities more broadly. We have been using the Subaltern series as a way to foreground critical theoretical perspectives with a graph shaped by Gramsci, Said, Spivak, among others. And as two cross-cutting themes, we have prioritized racing the discipline and engendering the discipline. As I said, the aim was to make us, but students, faculty, staff, and members from the broader community, to think about the silences and omissions of our disciplines, who and what gets read in and written in, and what is excluded, erased, or invisibilized. This brings me to Dr. Kothari, who will speak to us today on the topic, Disguising Race, the Sanitization of Discourses of Development. Dr. Kothari talk will build upon a body of work which is, for those of you in development studies or who are familiar with it, is leading edge. You will note that surprisingly race has been for a long time unthought in development studies, and this is surprising in many ways. So Dr. Kothari, among a handful of other scholars, have sought to explore the silences and omissions about race, how the silences make the perpetuation of a racialized discourse in development possible, as well as she has worked, again with a handful of scholars, to explore the continuing legacies of colonial constructs, forms of racialized difference, and hierarchies within the development studies. She's a reader in the Institute for Development Policy and Management, as said. Her work focuses on two broad areas: critical colonial, post-colonial, and feminist analyses of international development discourse and transnational migration and diasporas. As she notes, this research is strongly characterized by a critical theoretical engagement and ethnographic research. She's developed historical analyses of international development using critical social theories to interrogate mainstream approaches, and has developed methodologies for collecting and analyzing life history narratives. Much of this research challenges colonial representations of third world peoples and places through an analysis of race and racism, an issue that underpins the theory and practice of development, but has been largely invisible, as I said. And I think, as this crowd suggests, her work is of interest to people who do stuff on migration, culture, and identity. And most recently, her work has critiqued conventional understandings of cosmopolitanism by demonstrating how transnational migrants embody new kinds of cosmopolitan identities. So I think we are in for interesting and provocative and disruptive talks. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kothari.
Thanks very much. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity, for giving me this opportunity to share some of my current research interests. And also thanks to Melinda for the invitation. And, you know, I don't want to appear immodest or egotistical, but this invitation comes on the back of many, many invitations over the last 18 months. And they're not exactly invitations. I would say that perhaps they're more proposals. Because in the last 18 months, I've had more proposals of marriage than I have in the previous 46 years. And you might think, well, that's a bit of an uninteresting aside and a bit of an anecdote, or I'm trying to get some sort of sympathy vote here. It's neither of those things. The context in which those proposals were made have made me reconsider my interrogation of the development discourse. Because those proposals were made by a group of Senegalese and Bangladeshi street peddlers who are currently supposedly illegal migrants on the streets in Barcelona in Spain. And I've been carrying out, well, working with them on the streets and also carrying out research with them, collecting their life histories. And every interview goes something like, where are you from? I'm from Dhaka. Where are you from? I'm from the UK. Oh, do you have papers? I say, yes, I have a passport. Are you married? And what it made me think about was the way in which so much of my research had focused on thinking discursively about cosmopolitanism, identity, culture, mobility, about the discursive construction of those kinds of subjectivities, and not really thinking about or separated from a clearly interconnected area of institutional and material realities. That here was a passport which isn't an invitation because of what I've written or where I come from, but it's that somebody has given me this document that means something to myself and to other people. It's the material manifestation of a discourse around identity, subjectivity, and migration. So what it helped me do, in a way, is not only challenge and question some of my own thinking around transnational migration, but also to challenge the discourse and the discipline within which I work, which is international development, which transcends sort of theory, policy, and practice. So in a way, parallels have been made with social work for development theory. And my focus has primarily been on the theoretical side of that, or in fact, the absence of a theorizing of development, because so much of international development is about policy and practice. So I've used post-colonial and feminist research and critiques to explore the history of development, about power and privilege in global relations. And I'm reminded then, when I start thinking about the peddlers in Barcelona, what Christine Sylvester wrote in terms of bringing post-colonialism and development together, because she said that post-colonial theorists tend to be concerned much more with whether the subaltern can speak or not. And development theorists, or development practitioners, more accurately, are much more concerned whether the subaltern has enough to eat. And we haven't really brought those discourses together, that sort of discursive, what I'm calling the discursive, and the material. So I want to challenge those kinds of